Prince Lurien slumped boredly into the Jade Throne of Briomdar. An artifact of whale ivory and aquamarine, it had thin strands of jade woven through an armature of living coral by the shamanic tide magics of the Isharan Corrales. The physical discomfort of that seat was offset somewhat by the novelty and by the still, fuzzy glow of his mother's death. Lurien smiled and shifted position. It was the living part, he decided. The coral. In essence, he was sitting on a cunningly crafted rock, one that would regrow itself for each new generation of royalty and never be worn to fit an elf's shape. There was a lesson from the gods there, his mother would have said, about hubris and impermanence. And Queen Legithe, tide mistress of the city of seers, a proven authority on hubris, was now well placed to muse on impermanence. Her soul, on the other hand... With a weary sigh, Lurien wound a gauntleted finger through the algal strands of his periwig. The lengths were tied into knots and braids, luminescent turquoise wound with coarse-textured gold, the royal colours of Briomdar. With the bone of his jaw resting against his knuckles, he watched the performance. The Nathic dancers swirled, fish-like, between scattered groups of hooded Isharan and ceremonially armoured Archelian, swimming through the deep green ether sea of the hall with the glowing corelleum shard held above her head. Her body had been painted in morning purple, marked further in subdued golden pigments with the runes of Erech, Tayal, and Netu, with long streamers of black algal hair arranged in fishtails that swarmed over the emblems of the old gods of the dead, like cleaner fish about a sacred alopex. Slave dancers of both sexes rippled through the hall in her wake, ribbons trailing from poles. With graceful tumbles they swam together to conjure scenes from the age of Aeolas, red dragons breathing golden fire, white isles falling under black seas, golden goddesses devouring the world. Surrounded by whirls of flesh and colour, the nobility of Briomdar engaged in abstinence, performing the solitary dances of the court, the avarai, the sarail, or even, for those more daring, the iltair, in which an elf partnered with another on the opposite side of the hall. Every great house was accounted for but one, and yet the sense Lurien took from it was emptiness.